Hello, listeners. Welcome to the final episode of From Crisis to Opportunities, Reframing Economic Challenges for Strategic Advantage. I'm Adiola Gbaribo, your host, and today we'll bring all our insights together and focus on what is often the biggest determinant of success: the people and culture. Over the series, we learned to see crisis as a signal to act, not merely as pain to endure. We uncovered economic realities, leadership mindsets, opportunity mapping, discipline and innovation, agility, and risk management. Now, as our capstone, we emphasize that strategy is nothing without the people to execute it. Under pressure, teams feel strain, morale can falter, communication can break down, and talent can walk out the door. This episode will show how great leaders protect and empower their teams during downtowns. We'll explore building morale, communicating clearly, retaining and reskilling your best people, supporting mental health, adapting performance management, and making remote stroke hybrid work actual, work. We will integrate these lessons with examples and frameworks, including a case study of a company that emerged stronger from crisis thanks to its leadership. So, let's dive in. So before we move forward, let's briefly recall what we've learned so far. From episode 1, Crisis as an Opportunity, we said that bad times can be the soil for innovation. Instead of panicking, leaders should ask, what is this revealing? What can we take out of this? And look for hidden openings. So we went to episode 2 where we talked about the economic signals. We learned to read the economy like a language. When it's inflation, whether it's inflation, currency swings, or demand shifts, strategic leaders interpret these signals rather than get lost in media noise. Let's move to episode 3, leadership mindset. We contrasted survival thinking with strategic thinking. Survival mode is fear-based and reactive. Strategic mode is clear-eyed and forward-looking. Leaders must shift mindsets to make wise decisions under pressure. Episode 4, we spoke about opportunity mapping, where we broke down how to locate value in crisis, identify problems that became urgent, observe behavior changes, spot the gaps in service, and design new solutions to tackle the issues. Opportunity often hides in plain sight. If you look closely, you will find it. At the 5th episode, we were talking about financial discipline. Yes, we stressed that cost management is not just cutting budgets randomly. It is about spending with intent, trimming waste, protecting key investments, and using discipline to build resilience. Episode 6 was innovation under constraint. Here we saw that constraints like resource, time, capital can fuel creativity. When you have little resources, you have a little time, you have limited capital, you are forced to become innovative and creative on how to make use of them. So history shows companies pivoting their business models like Netflix during the digital shift, were forced to innovate. Strategic agility was episode 7, where we discussed pivoting. And we said agility means sensing when old strategies are no longer fit and adjusting quickly while keeping your mission in contact, keeping the mission intact, rather. Leading with rigidity under rapid change is a recipe for failure. You cannot afford to be rigid. You need to be flexible. You need the flexibility. When you are under rapid change, when things are changing rapidly beyond your control, you need to be flexible. The last episode was episode 8. I'm talking about risk intelligence. We're talking about taking informed risks. The goal is neither reckless gamble or frozen indecision. It's not for us to just take risk anyhow or decide not to take any risk at all. Through risk assessments and scenario planning, leaders move forward with confidence despite uncertainty. These episodes set the stage for today's topic. Each lesson underscores that crises don't end opportunities, they transform them. Now, as we focus on how to lead our people when the environment is tough, we need to see that everyone can play their part in turning crisis into a strategic advantage. Let's take this crisis and leverage on it. Therefore, we want to talk about leading people through change. How do we lead people through change? So as a leader, you have the responsibility to guide your team through uncertainty. All the strategy in the world means nothing if people are disengaged or burnt out. Consider this quote from Harvard Business Review. It says that in a severe downturn, a CEO who reassures employees that the company can weather the storm, helps them to make sense of the data, and gives clear direction, is holding people. I take it again. A CEO who reassures employees during a time of severe downturn that the company can weather the storm, helps them to make sense of the data and give them the direction. That CEO is holding the people. That work is as important. The CEO knows that work is as important as inspiring others. In other words, your cultural leadership during crisis is the foundation for success. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything rests on the shoulder of the leader. People want to feel that their leaders know what's happening and have a plan. In Gallup's latest global report, only 32% of employees are fully engaged, meaning most feel detached from their workplace. A shocking 51% are actively looking for a new job. The common complaint is lack of transparent communication and trust. Employees want transparent leadership, visibility, and two-way trust, not top-down directives in isolation. This gap is a caution for leaders. If morale crumbles and trust vanishes, you lose your most valuable assets, the people. Yet, great adversity often reveals great leadership. Companies that invested in their culture during downturn emerge stronger. This, back to the collapses and comebacks we studied. That we studied sometimes back. Netflix didn't just survive the .com, bust or competition from Blockbuster. It reinvented its model, and you will see in their case study, companies like Netflix or even Nigeria's own tech leaders adapted their strategies because their people stayed motivated and aligned. So in this final episode, we'll go step by step through the elements of people-focused leadership. We'll discuss maintaining morale and vision, communicating boldly, retaining and reskilling talent, restructuring with care, supporting mental health, performance management under remote work, and continuous learning. These are the concrete actions and attitudes that make your team not only survive a crisis, but thrive in spite of it. So let's talk about why people and culture matter. During economic pressure, the human side of the organization comes into sharp focus. Financial cuts or pivots inevitably hit people's livelihoods and well-being. Yet, if leaders mishandle these moments, they will pay a heavy price for disengaged staff, for their turnover, and reputational damage. The good news is that people strategy can become a competitive advantage. Why? It boosts resilience because a confident, connected team adapts faster. Number two, it sustains productivity. Engaged employees work smarter even under constraints. Three, it preserves knowledge. Retaining key talents avoid costly brain drain. As World Health Organization notes, that safe and supportive work environments are more likely to minimize tension and conflicts at work and improve staff retention, work performance, and productivity. Conversely, poor conditions, excessive workloads, insecurity, lack of control pose a risk to mental health and can derail performance. In tough times, leadership must be especially mindful of these dynamics. Morale and well-being. Crisis can easily sap enthusiasm. Layoffs, budget costs, or just stress of uncertainty alone may demotivate even your best people. Leaders must actively build morale. Reinforce purpose. Remind teams why the organization exists. Even small reminders of mission and customer impact help employees feel work matters. As one tech CEO puts it, he said, "Our customers are the primary reason for our business." Another thing we can do is to celebrate wins, highlight small victories, a successful project launch, meeting a deadline, or even personal milestones, because recognition goes a long way. You need to encourage unity, promote team building, even virtually, a sense of belonging, battles isolation, especially for remote staff. Critically, listening is a part of morale building. Many Gallup respondents, lamented that communication is lacking. More communication would be effective in improving morale. If employees feel unheard, dissatisfaction will grow. So leaders should create channels for feedback, surveys, open forums, and act on what they hear. Transparent communication and trust. Clear, honest communication is the lifeblood of trust. In crisis, rumors and fear fill any vacuum left by silence. You leave a vacuum, it's filled with rumors. So leadership principles here include frequent updates. Give regular updates on the situation, even if you don't have all the answers. Uncertainty is uncomfortable, but transparent engagement is almost always better than tight-lipped silence. Clarity and consistency. As Patrick Guillory notes, in a crisis, people don't need a new grand vision. They need a leader who contains and interprets what's happening. That means distilling complex data into actionable context. For example, explaining how revenue shortfalls might affect budgets, or how customer demand is shifting, and how customer behavior will affect the bottom line. Two-way dialogue. Invite questions. Encourage managers at every level to listen and respond. Build two-way trust. Building two-way trust beats issuing decrees. So in Gallup words, employees crave transparent leadership, visibility, and a two-way trust, not top-down commands. And then you need to train your managers. Train managers in communication, in how to respond to answers, while not exaggerating issues. They need to create hope in the kind of answers they give. Empathy. Acknowledge difficulties openly. Sincerity and compassion matter more than ever. More than ever. Communicate your awareness of sacrifices employees may be making, like flex time, pay cuts, stress. Even if you must announce hard choices, lead with the concern for people impacted. Your tone matters. Your body language matters in communication. These are the things. Don't make it look like you do not care. For example, in many successful turnarounds, CEOs personally held Ask Me Anything sessions with staff, or published frequent video updates. These gestures may seem small, but they signal we are all in this together. It creates a signal that the CEO knows what is happening and what people are going through. Retention and reskilling. When budgets tighten, companies often trim staff first, but losing key talent can backfire. Instead of considering, trimming staff, why don't you consider investing in your people? Identify critical roles. Determine which skills and roles are most vital. Do everything possible to keep those employees engaged and employed. Reskill and upskill. As organizations shift, some jobs change rather than vanish. So offer training for those employees to fill emerging needs. Research shows that providing learning opportunities enhances job satisfaction and increases employee retention. In other words, people stay when they see a future with you. Redeployment instead of layoffs. Whenever possible, reassign employees to growing areas. A company may save on severance and avoid rehiring costs later, because at that time people become loyal. Fair rewards. Even if big crises big raises are not possible, preserve essential incentives. Sometimes low cost recognition, flexible schedules, or future bonuses can bolster loyalty. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to go on the break now. When we'll come back, we will continue.
At Armor Gates Training, we believe professional development should do more than inform. It should transform how people work, lead, and deliver results. That's why we support organizations through conceptual insight, practical learning, and performance evaluation right at the intersection of leadership, strategy, and institutional transformation. Our approach focuses on practical learning format that professionals can immediately apply in their workplace. At Armor Gate, we don't teach theory alone. We equip participants with real-world insight drawn from almost 2 decades of organizational transformation experience. Our programs combine multiple learning methods designed for real-time measurable results. Through seminars, we facilitate deep conversation on key subjects. Using group exercises, participants collaborate, reflect, and think strategically. With case studies, they then sharpened analytical and decision-making skills using real industry scenarios. Through relevant videos, we spark insightful discussions using relatable real-life context. All in all, every participant develops an individual work plan, ensuring the learning turns into real action after the program. Our training programs are hosted in world-class venues across global cities, including Addis Ababa, Nairobi, Mombasa, Cape Town, Dubai, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, London, Florida, and Washington, D.C. Let's work with you to turn learning into your organization's growth. For more inquiries, call +234 807 9574 151 or WhatsApp +1 610 504 6026. Visit www.thearmorgate.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Armorgate. Armorgate Training, transforming knowledge, interaction, and growth.
Welcome back. This is still Armorgate Radio Communications, and we're still talking about from crisis to opportunities. And this is our concluding episode. Before we left, I was talking about the people, why people and culture matter, and strategies by which we can use in managing and people. So I'll just continue from where I stopped. So consider Jim Ovia, founder of Zenith Bank. He said their strategy emphasized talent retention. This is what Jim Ovia said. He said their growth strategy and strength is emphasized by talent retention. He noted the bank has grown bigger and more sustainably due to the careful attention we have paid to retaining the best talents. This investment in people paid off when the bank weathered Nigeria's recession and continued leading the market. Restructuring with humanity. If cutbacks or restructuring are unavoidable, handle them with sensitivity. Handle them with empathy. 1. Communicate early. Don't spring layoffs as a shock. Warn teams that changes are coming and involve people in planning and mitigation if possible. 2. Provide support. Offer generous severance, outplacement services, or help finding new roles. The way you let people go will echo long after, both inside and outside the company. 3. Retain managers. Avoid draining middle management. Maintaining good supervisors keeps morale higher among remaining staff. 4. Use voluntary measures first. Encourage voluntary leaves, sabbaticals, or temporary hour reductions before involuntary cuts. These options may preserve employees' future. Leaders who handle restructuring transparently and compassionately are often trusted and retain the trust. A Gallup poll found that when changes come, employees see transparent communication from leaders. They say that it is essential to retain their confidence. So even in hard decisions, keep respect and dignity at the core. Don't talk to people anyhow. People are people. They have blood flowing in them. Don't just take them as statistics. Well-being and mental health. Stress and anxiety spike during crisis because of the uncertainty. According to WHO, poor work conditions pose a risk to mental health and cost the global economy an estimated $1 trillion in lost productivity. So, smart leaders act proactively. One, they normalize dialogue. Speak openly about stress and uncertainty. Encourage leaders to model healthy coping. Take breaks, set boundaries. This revives, stamina and removes stigma. Two, provide resources. Offer employee assistance programs, counseling hotlines, or partnerships with mental health apps. Even simple referrals to support groups can help. Three, promote work-life balance. Watch for burnout. Encourage use of vacation time. Limit after hours communications and allow flexibility within reason for personal needs. Little gestures like mental health days or mindfulness sessions can signal that we care. 4, training for managers. Equip supervisors to recognize signs of distress in team members. Often people suffer in silence unless someone asks the right questions. Remember, as WC puts it, a healthy work environment improves self-retention, work performance, and productivity, whereas neglecting it undermines attendance and morale. In crisis, showing genuine concern for well-being is both ethical and strategic. Let's talk about performance management adaptations. Ordinarily, traditional performance metrics may need a refresh when everyone is under stress. Result-oriented, not face time. Especially for remote and hybrid teams, shift evaluation from hours at desk to outcomes delivered. Micromanagement damages trust. That is it. Don't micromanage anybody. Yes, check-ins, not judgments. Replace annual reviews with regular coaching sessions. Provide feedback and support, not punishment. Use short, frequent one-on-one check-ins to see how projects and people are doing. Projects and people, not just projects. Realign goals. Revise targets to reflect the new reality. What was a stretched goal in good times may be unrealistic now. Setting achievable objectives preserves motivation. Acknowledge extra effort. If some employees are going above and beyond to sustain operations, acknowledge it publicly. Performance appraisal systems should factor in extraordinary circumstances. As one leadership study notes, most employees are already raring to act in a crisis. What they need is guidance and support to move purposely. That means performance leadership in crisis is about clarifying expectations and aligning efforts, not adding pressure. Let me quickly talk about remote and hybrid work culture. Now, so economic crisis often accelerates remote work trends. Managing people across home and office presents unique challenges. Yes, you're cutting costs, but you still want them to come to work every day. Why don't you create a remote one so that there are days they come to work, there are days they work remotely. Maintain culture virtually. Invest in online team interactions, virtual coffee breaks, town halls, or collaborative projects. Use tools, messaging, video that keep people connected to peers and purpose. hybrid fairness. Ensure policies that that treat remote and on-site staff equally. For instance, key decisions shouldn't favor only those physically present. The Gallup report noted a stark divide. There is a gulf between fully remote employees and ones who could go into the office. Technology and training. Make sure everyone has the tools to work effectively from anywhere. Provide quick training on new platforms. Flexible policies. The days of 9 to 5 are fading. If someone needs to start later for caregiving reasons, be accommodating while keeping standards. Focus on productivity. Encourage teams to set their own rhythms. Some may work early morning, others may work late evenings. As long as collaboration norms are clear, flexibility can boost both morale and output. Remote hybrid arrangements can expand your access to talent. Leaders who manage this transition well often find their teams are happier and more dedicated. By contrast, mishandling it can accelerate turnover. Let's take a case study, Netflix strategic pivot, and with this we will conclude this wonderful series that we've been on for more than 8 weeks now. To illustrate these principles in action, let's look at Netflix, a global leader that turned multiple crises into growth. So in early 2000s, Netflix was a DVD by mail startup. By 2007, it launched streaming video, and by 2017, it had over 100 million subscribers worldwide. How did leadership through crisis fuel Netflix's success? Let's look at this. In the early 2000s, the crisis. What happened in 2000? Shipping DVD was costly, became very expensive, and rivals like Blockbuster dominated stores. Netflix nearly collapsed. CEO Reed Hastings could have cut back, but instead he invested in innovation. The company built its own distribution network, about 50 plus warehouses, and developed the recommendation engine, Cinema, boosting user engagement. Within a few years, subscribers leaped from to about 6.3 million in 2006. Let's look at the crisis of evolving tech. So as broadband grew, physical DVDs lost appeal. Rather than cling to the old model, Netflix leadership pivoted boldly. In 2007, it launched the streaming ahead of many competitors. It built its tech team, experimented with early prototypes, and retained staff for digital delivery. The global expansion, now happened with streaming. Netflix faced new challenges, which will be about licensing, competition, rapid scaling. So the company invested heavily in data analytics and localized content. They also had to maintain a strong corporate culture across geographies. Netflix leadership maintained transparency. For example, posting its culture guides publicly, and continue to focus on employee freedom and responsibility. Critical and crucial for innovation. What's the outcome? By 2017, Netflix had 100 million paid subscribers. By the end of 2025, it had reached 325 million globally. Today, its market value exceeds that of traditional media giants. Importantly, this was not luck. It was a result of data-driven decisions and empowering talent teams to adapt. So, as we conclude, we need to understand that this case highlights that leadership choices in crisis yield measurable results. By focusing on solutions and innovation and involving the teams in the vision, Netflix turned multiple turning points into sustained advantage. What are the Takeaways from today. First, people come first in crisis leadership. Strategy must be executed by motivated, engaged teams. Investing in people through communication, support, and growth is an important part. It is as important as financial maneuvers. 2, maintain open, transparent communication. Silent breeds uncertainty. It allows for fear and rumors. As Gallup found, employees need transparent leadership, visibility, and the two-way trust, especially when rumors swirl. 3, retain and empower talent through reskilling, training. Ensure training opportunities are available to everyone. Enhance job satisfaction and increase employee retention. Versatility in your team preserves critical skills with resources, especially when resources are scarce. Number 4, address well-being proactively. Psychological safety and mental health support are not soft issues. They drive productivity and retention. Simple actions, flexible hours, employee programs, and listening pay big dividends in performance. Number 5, adapt your management to the new reality. Focus on outcomes, not face time. Align goals with current priorities and empathy. Use empathy in performance reviews. Number 6, leadership. Providing reassurance and direction is critical. In crisis, people need to see calm, consistency, and support from the top. The trust gap must be filled for any strategy to succeed. So as we wrap up our series, remember, crises don't just break things. They also reveal what's most important. Throughout these episodes, we've seen the strategic thinking, disciplined action, and innovative mindset can transform adversity into advantage. Yet, none of it matters if people are left behind. The strongest cultures are, not only withstand storms, but are galvanized by them. In the words of a CEO who lived this lesson, when a leader's vision alone inspires us, we follow. But in crisis, people need holding, someone who soothes and orients them. You as a leader are that anchor. Use the strategies we've discussed: communication, empathy, development, flexibility to hold your team together. In doing so, you won't just survive this storm, you will position your organization for long-term success. As I round up, I'd like to get your feedback, and you can send to us on our email, contact@theamogate.org, or you can send us a WhatsApp message on our WhatsApp line +234 810 999-6666. Let me take that number again: +234 810 999-6666. You can also reach out to us on our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn, we are on Instagram, all at Amogate. Now, I'd like to refer you to our YouTube channel, Amogate Communication Radio. Just go to our YouTube channel, like that page, subscribe, put on your notifications. It is a bank of resources. All the series that I have broadcast, and the broadcast from other professionals and consultants, which run from throughout the week. You will find them there. It's a bank of resources. You can do a lot of it. So thank you for listening. This has been episode 9 of From Crisis to Opportunity, reframing economic challenges for strategic advantage. My name is Adiola Gbadebo. Today we emphasize that your people are your most critical resource. So in tough times, focus on transparent communication, support your team's well-being, retain and develop talent, and adapt your leadership for remote and hybrid context. These actions are not only to preserve morale, but also create performance advantage. Remember, a confident, connected team can turn uncertainty into innovation. Take what we've discussed and talk to your team. Ask about their concerns, share your plans, and empower them with training and trust. With discipline, leadership, and a culture of resilience, you can lead your organization from crisis to growth. As I close with this quote, leadership during pressure isn't about weathering the storm alone. It's about guiding your people safely to calm waters. Thank you for joining us on this series, and stay strategic. Goodbye.
Harmogate, founded in 2008 out of a desire to build transgenerational structures for organizations, institutions, and nations. We have worked with large businesses, international development organizations, and public sector ministries and agencies. Harmogate, our uniqueness is that we do not just work for you, we work with you. For example, we do not leave you to the task after sourcing talent that will help the new hire settle into robust leadership development programs. We are technical experts in advising and supporting institutions on strategy and leadership, artificial intelligence, strategic human resource management, public sector reform, finance, audit and tax, FAT, and strategic communications. We do all this and more out of a desire to transform nations through institutions and organizations. For further inquiries, email contact@theharmogate.org or call +234 810 999 6666, +234 807 957 4151, and +161 0504 6026. www.theharmogate.org. Harmogate, building to endure and transforming nations through institutions and organizations.